Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Hail Mary. We had so much happen this week when it comes to football, college football, the NFL. That's all we're talking about today. If you want to talk about MLB, WNBA, NBA, NHL, this is not the place for you. We had so much happen in football, college football, and the NFL. That's all we're talking about today because we had huge upsets. We had coaches getting fired. I have my hand up segment of the week, which is not a weekly segment, but I am putting my hand up because nobody puts their hand up faster than I do when they're wrong about something. We're talking about Joe Burrow and how the Cincinnati Bengals are a piss poor organization. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they are piss poor. We're going to talk about the Tush Push. We're talking about JJ McCarthy. Oh, it's going to be a long, it's going to be a rant fest, really. If you want to hear me just bullshit and be pissed off about football, that's exactly what we're doing today because there is so much that I'm mad about. But before we get into all that, please check out hailmary.media, check out my website, read my blogs, check out all of our videos, follow us on all of our social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you know where to find us. And also, we are partnered up with Underdog and Sleeper. So when you use the code HMM, you're going to get yourself a free gimme pick plus a deposit match as well. Those are the plugs. Let's get right into our first topic. And I want to talk about Clemson football because Dabo Swinney needs to get the hell out of town. Dabo Swinney either needs to get the hell out of town or he needs to adapt to the times. Because what the fuck is going on with Clemson? Dead serious. Dabo Swinney needs to start adapting to this new wave of what college football is. He doesn't want to use the transfer portal because he wants guys that he recruits. He doesn't want NIL because he doesn't want guys who want to play for money. Dabo, get with the times, dude. Seriously. You just lost to Georgia Tech. And I'm not saying that this is the same Georgia Tech of old, where, yes, if you would have lost to them back in the day, it's like, oh my God, immediately fired, off with your head. You cannot get outcoached in this game. And that is 1,000% how Clemson lost. They were outcoached. They have the better talent. They brought back so many starters. Cade Klubnik had another year under his belt to get even better. And what do? They go out and they lose to Georgia Tech on a walk-off field goal, which it boggles my mind why Dabo did not take a timeout. I understand that they were in a fire drill. I understand that you wanted to try to add some pressure because of the kick. Call a timeout. Give yourself a few seconds to at least heave the ball down the field. Get out of bounds and kick a field goal for yourself. Maybe make the kicker think about the kick. But he was in a fire drill and he really had no time to even think about missing it. Call a timeout. I don't know what Dabo was doing there. Very stupid in my opinion. Sure, it's a college kicker. Sure, anything can happen. Call a timeout. That's just basic coaching right there. Dabo Swinney got outcoached. And it's going to continue to happen because he has not adjusted to the times. Transfer portal, NIL, he thinks that everything that he has done in the past is going to continue to make Clemson a powerhouse. I had Clemson, actually, let's make it two hand up moments of the week. Hand up, I had Clemson in the national championship game. Yeah, fuck, I look like an idiot now. Dabo Swinney, what are you doing? Absolute joke. Absolute joke. You should not be getting outcoached by Georgia Tech. They have done nothing that you have never seen before. You have seen everything under the sun. You should be able to beat this team with all your returning talent and a quarterback that everybody thought had the potential to be a first-round pick. And then on top of that, you have Cade Klubnik feeding into trolls on Twitter. If you follow the No3 account, which is a fake parody account of On3, they said, praise for Cade Klubnik, nothing's wrong with him, he's just ass. Well, he proved us right that he is ass. He ended up responding to that with a DM saying, keep my name out of your mouth, I'll run circles around your favorite team. I'm guessing that No3's favorite team isn't Georgia Tech, because you obviously didn't run circles around them. Clemson is ass. Clemson is dookie. Clemson is dog water. I thought they were going to be undefeated going into the ACC championship game, probably play Miami, win, go be number 1 seed in the college football playoff. This team sucks. Clemson sucks. Dabo Swinney, get with the freaking times. I don't even like Clemson, but you're supposed to be a national powerhouse, and you're making me look stupid because I picked you to be in the national championship game. You're making me look dumb, Dabo. What's going on? I'm so pissed I'm spitting everywhere. I shouldn't even be this worked up about Clemson. It's just, they freaking suck. I'm not going to say the C word because I have friends who went to Clemson. Out of respect for them, I will not bring up the C word. But I should. I definitely should, but I won't. Out of respect for them. They wouldn't show me that kind of respect, I'll tell you that. But I'm going to show them respect. But if my favorite team lost, they're the first ones in my freaking mentions letting me know that my favorite team lost. So I won't say the C word, though, because I'm a nice guy. But Clemson sucks. Speaking of sucks, Nico Ilamalaviava, however you say his name, he sucks. UCLA, they suck. Their coach just got fired. You remember the whole saga with Nico in the offseason where, he was going to sit out of the Tennessee playoff game because he wanted more money, and this whole stuff with his dad and forcing his way out of town. And then finally, they kind of do like a 1-for-1 transfer swap. Nico goes to UCLA. Joey Aguilar goes over to Tennessee. And it is 2 completely different just trajectories that these teams are on. UCLA is 0-3, just lost to New Mexico. What? I get that UCLA isn't the powerhouse that they used to be. I get that UCLA doesn't have all the talent that they used to. You guys stink. Nico stinks. And meanwhile, Joey Aguilar, I don't want to hear it from UCLA fans. That, they lost the game, Tennessee lost. I don't care. Joey Aguilar put up absolute numbers on one of the top defenses in all the country, and they had a chance to win that game. Sure, they lost on their home field. That sucks. You guys would be in such a better spot had you would have had Joey instead of Nico. Nico's out here getting coaches fired. Nico's out here playing like dog shit. And yet he thought that he was good enough to sit out of a playoff game potentially when they absolutely got dog walked in that playoff game, by the way, by Ohio State. But this whole thing with, you can buy your team in college football. Yeah, just go out and get the best transfers. Well, first of all, Nico wasn't even a good transfer. But we're seeing right now that, yes, you can buy players. You can put together a good team on paper. You can. But if your coaching sucks, that's what matters in the end. So everybody who thinks that NIL is this whole big ordeal, like it's ruining college football, it's not. Bad coaching is what's ruining college football. We just saw it the other week with Michigan versus Oklahoma. Michigan put together a $20 million offense. They gave Bryce Underwood like a bag, an absolute bag. And they lost because he was a handoff merchant. Because Sharon Moore is not a good coach. I shouldn't say he's not a good coach. He's not a good coach right now for the Big Ten. You know? So, NIL is not the problem with college football. It's bad coaching. UCLA had bad coaching. Now, they also have a bad quarterback. Nico's not a good quarterback. Joey Aguilar is a good quarterback. But that's where it also comes back to bad coaching. Because the coaching staff was not good enough at UCLA to see what they had in Joey Aguilar. But Josh Heupel is capable and a good coach and was able to unlock what they couldn't at UCLA. And you're seeing that Nico is not a good quarterback. Josh Heupel was able to get seemingly the most of what Nico can do. And he thought that it was all him. He thought that it was his talents. He thought that the concepts and the schemes were not good for him at Tennessee. And now look at him. He's at UCLA right now, playing like absolute trash. UCLA is a dumpster fire. Their coaching sucks. So again, if you think that NIL is the problem, if you think that the transfer portal is the problem with college football, take a look in the mirror. Look at some records. It's not NIL. It's not the transfer portal. It's bad coaching. Why do you think Clemson right now is looking so bad? Bad coaching. It's that simple. It's seriously that simple. Because you're telling me, I'm going back to Clemson. Did Clemson lose that game because Georgia Tech has better transfers in NIL than them? No. They lost because of coaching. And Nico is proving, once again, he's not a good quarterback. And UCLA has trash coaching because Joey Aguilar was just unlocked. And I don't care that they lost. He looked great. He looked great versus Georgia. So I just want to talk about that because Nico's an absolute fraud. And his dad's probably going to be in my mentions, be like, keep my son's name out of your mouth. Shut up. Your kid's not good at football. All right, let's talk about another huge game of the week, and that was Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. Holy cow, that was so much fun to watch. I don't really have a ton to say about it. It's just Notre Dame, I think, after this loss, pick a conference. You seriously need to pick a conference. You don't have 2 losses on the year. You're probably going to run the table, just knowing Notre Dame. They're going to run the table. They'll be, 9-2, 8-2, whatever. I don't know how many games are. 10-2, who fucking knows? And then they're not going to play in a conference championship game because they're not in a conference. And then they're going to bitch that they ran the table, but they missed the playoffs because they lost their first 2 games of the season. Pick a conference. Go to the ACC. Go to the Big Ten. Go anywhere. Go to the Mountain West. Just pick a conference. And Notre Dame fans are going to bitch and complain because they're 1,000% going to run the table. They're 1,000% going to run the table. It's just what happens. And the committee is going to put them in a spot where they're going to be able to make the playoffs, even though as of right now they're not deserving. And they're not going to be deserving even if they run the table. The way that they lost that game, though, you score a touchdown to go up. How just the simplest operations thing. You don't get the kickoff, so you have to try to do a fire play to throw the ball for 2. Because at first, I was on my computer, and I was like, all right, they scored. They're just going to kick the extra point. I look up at my TV. I'm like, why the fuck are they throwing it? Why is Marcus Freeman going for 2? Because, what? I was so confused. I was like, there's no way. At first, because hand up, another hand up. I had Notre Dame minus 6.5. So I saw that and I was like, oh, he definitely bet against Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman did. Because there was no reason here to go for 2. So that was my rationale for that. I was very upset when I saw that happen. But then I saw the whole operations thing. Losing like that, because yes, they went down and let Texas A&M score a touchdown. Had they, however, made the extra point, we'd have been in overtime. So just a brutal way to lose. I'm blaming it on the operations of the extra point team. Just a brutal way to lose. And just my big takeaway for this, pick a conference. You're going to run the table. You guys are going to be disappointed at the end of the year. You're going to bitch. You're going to complain. Yeah, just pick a conference, please. This wasn't on my list, but something that just came into my head that I want to talk about. And it's just a quick little thing. If USF, so USF has 2 ranked wins on the year. Boise and Florida. Okay? They went in and played number 4 ranked Miami. So they're 2-1 on the season. They've played all ranked teams. They've beaten 2 ranked teams and lost to the number 4 team in the country. They are not in the AP top 25 because of that. You're telling me that if Alabama had that same resume where they had 2 ranked wins and they lost to the number 4 team in the country, Alabama would be ranked in the top 10. And I get that it's about the totality of your roster and, where you're at. But USF played 3 ranked opponents, beat 2 of them, and lost, again, to the number 4 team in the country. And they're not even in the top 25. Alabama would be in the top 10. That's absolutely absurd. They should be ahead of Notre Dame. USF should. It's a joke. It's quite literally a joke. These rankings are a joke. I don't know why people take stock in what the AP poll does. After we had that whole Haley Sawyer girl, where after USF beat Florida, she had Florida ranked ahead of them in her AP poll, and they were like, what happened with that? And she's like, it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. Take away her vote. Hey, AP poll, if you're listening, and I know you are, give me a vote. How about that? Because I actually watch the games. I actually care about the games. And I will give you a 3-paragraph write-up for each one of my picks and why. So then you can read it. I mean, you definitely don't read it, though, because you just let people throw absolute slop out there. Give me a vote. I'll actually take it seriously. How about that? All right, so that's all I want to talk about with college football. I'm going to do, now this is my hand up segment of the week. I already gave 2 hand ups, but this is the one that my hand is up, it's raised, and I need to apologize. I need to apologize to Dan Campbell and all Lions fans. I put them on fraud watch. I put Dan Campbell on fraud alert after their loss to the Green Bay Packers, because I thought that Dan Campbell was just a merchant for his defensive and offensive coordinator, because they lost so bad to the Green Bay Packers. My hand is up right now because nobody puts their hand up faster than me when they're wrong. What we saw yesterday, yeah, the Lions are perfectly fine. What we saw from the Chicago Bears is Ben Johnson the fraud. The Chicago Bears look like shit. The New York Jets look like shit. Everybody was excited about the Jets after that Steeler game. We learned that the Steelers suck, which we'll talk about them in a little bit. We learned that the Jets suck. Justin Fields was, 3 for 9 for 27 yards? He's now in concussion protocol. The Jets suck. The Steelers suck. So Aaron Glenn doesn't look the best right now. Ben Johnson let J.J. McCarthy come back and beat him. We're going to talk about J.J. McCarthy in the next segment here. And then they just got booty dick down. Booty dick down. Just wiped off the face of the planet by the Detroit Lions. Wasn't even a game. So my hand is up. I owe Dan Campbell an apology. I thought that you guys were done. I thought that you were a merchant for your coordinators. I think that the biggest winner out of all this is not the Detroit Lions. It's the Green Bay Packers. Because the Green Bay Packers dominated the Detroit Lions. And then the Lions came out and dropped a 50 burger on the Chicago Bears. This I think just proves how good Green Bay is. They're the big winner from all this. They are the big winner from all this. And the biggest losers, so the Chicago Bears, I mean, you got 50 dropped on you. Ben Johnson, I don't know what's going on with that offense. Caleb Williams, he sucks. I mean, he frankly sucks. I cannot believe how bad he looks right now. And like the mistakes that he's making and how, I don't know, it just, I guess it's fixable. I'm not an NFL coach, but he looks like absolute piss. This is how bad the Chicago Bears are, though. You let J.J. McCarthy come back against you and beat you in week 1. Did you watch that game last night? And how bad the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy looked last night? When they play against the Green Bay Packers, when they play against the Detroit Lions, I'm scared that it might be a 50 burger again. I think the Bears and the Vikings are that bad. I think their quarterback situation is that bad. Because J.J. McCarthy came back to win against the Bears and then did nothing. Absolute piss versus the Falcons. And I put out tweets making fun of him because, yeah, he looked like shit in the first 3 quarters. And I asked the question, will J.J. McCarthy be the next Will Levis? And everybody was like, you're a fucking idiot. Ha ha, he came back and beat the Chicago Bears. I don't look dumb now. I was never a fan of J.J. McCarthy. Now, granted, I am an Ohio State guy. So I obviously didn't like J.J. McCarthy because he played for Michigan. But I thought he was a handoff merchant because that's all you had to do at Michigan to win games. Because Jim Harbaugh had them boys buzzing on the offensive line. They had Blake Corum. They had Donovan Edwards. They were able to just run the ball down your throat. And that's how they won games. And J.J. McCarthy could make throws, but he was a handoff merchant. And what we saw, I didn't like the pick when Minnesota took him at that spot. I didn't like it whatsoever. And what we're learning now is, yeah, he's potentially a handoff merchant. Can he get better? Yes. But everybody thought that he was this second coming. I came out with rankings for the NFC North talking about how I thought that they were going to be under 500. People again thought I was stupid. I think that what we're learning right now is that I know ball. That's simple. And I owe Dan Campbell an apology, so I don't know ball in that aspect. The Chicago Bears suck. J.J. McCarthy sucks. And the Green Bay Packers are freaking amazing. That's what we learned. And I hand up again to Dan Campbell. I'm sorry. I thought you were a merchant for your offensive coordinators. You proved me wrong. Put up a 50 burger. Now, again, anything can happen. The Chicago Bears could just be that bad. I don't know when your next game is. I'm seeing who you play next. Let's see who the Detroit Lions play next. Detroit Lions schedule. We're going to see who they play. Okay. They play the Baltimore Ravens. So that is like a huge litmus test. That if they come out and look good versus Baltimore, I might have to cut my hand off because my hand will be so far up it might get cut off. Because, yeah, if they look, I'm not going to say they're going to beat Baltimore, but if they look good versus Baltimore, I mean, that's even better for the Green Bay Packers. So, yeah, that's my hand-up moment of the week. I'm sorry, Dan Campbell. Please don't bite my kneecap off. Okay, another rant that I went on, and I made a 1-minute-long video about this, and I just want to talk about it on the podcast. The Cincinnati Bengals should 1 million, 1 trillion, 1 billion, billion, I don't even know how much larger I can get, quantrillion. They need to be ashamed of themselves for how they're treating Joe Burrow because this man is going to end up being the next Andrew Luck. They have put together zero offensive line in front of Joe Burrow. Their biggest investment. They end up fighting with their defense. They end up fighting with both of their defensive ends, Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart, about money, about contracts. The Bengals know damn well that even with Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart, their defense is going to be trash. And yet they fought all offseason. Instead, they give Jamar Chase a big payday. They give T. Higgins a big payday. I think when you do that, you are telling the league, we are going to beat you with our offense. We'll give up 50, but we'll score 70. When you're telling that to the league, why not put actual players who know how to play offensive line in front of your biggest investment, which is Joe Burrow? But no, they don't do that. Instead, they continue to fight with their defensive players, and they don't put together a competent O-line in front of Joe Burrow. And look what happens. He gets hurt. He's out for 3 months. And now you have these 2 awesome receivers that you got, who you gave a ton of money to, having nobody throw them the ball. And I don't care if you go out and trade for Kirk Cousins. You go out and get a Jameis Winston. You keep Jake Browning in there. Your offensive line is still piss poor. And this is 1 billion% on you. You've had 6 years to put together an offensive line in front of Joe Burrow. But instead, you fight with the defense. Should they have taken Penei Sewell instead of Jamar Chase? Possibly, but Joe Burrow really wanted Jamar Chase. You got him his guy. That's fine. You got Joe Burrow his guy. Why not go out and get offensive linemen? Why take Shamar Stewart when you could get an offensive lineman to protect your biggest investment? Because it doesn't matter how good your defense is now, even though they suck. It doesn't matter how good your receivers are. You don't have an upright quarterback. You are doing the biggest disservice to the entire league. You're doing a disservice to Joe Burrow. You're doing a disservice to the rest of your players. And yes, I'm flipping you off. You're doing a disservice to your fans. You're doing a disservice to all of the NFL. The NFL is better when Joe Burrow is playing. And you are not putting precautions into place to keep him healthy. If Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase played for any other franchise, I put out a tweet about this, and I sincerely mean this. If they played for any other franchise, even the Cleveland Browns, they may have won 1 or 2 Super Bowls because they at least try. The Cleveland Browns have a good offensive line. They just can't figure out their quarterback situation. They would have won multiple Super Bowls, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, had they have been in any other franchise. And the Bengals are doing a disservice to the league. They're doing a disservice to Joe Burrow. And I hate to say this, Joe Burrow may have 1 or 2 more years under his belt. He honestly might be the next Andrew Luck. And that just makes me so sad. I hate this so much. And I'm even a Steeler fan. And it sucks to see because the league is better when they're both playing. Absolute joke. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, by the way. As a fan, I don't even want to talk about the game because the game sucked. And during the game, I was so mad I ended up drinking 10 beers. I want to talk about Caleb Johnson and whatever mistake that he had. If you didn't see the play, for some reason, first of all, Caleb Johnson took 2 kick returns throughout his entire career in college. What makes you think that you should put him back there in the NFL? He had no kickoff experience. I don't care that he's a running back. Just because you're a running back does not make you a good kick returner. How dumb. How freaking dumb. But then you want to talk about dumb. He made a mistake yesterday that I'm going to be completely honest with you. I knew this rule when I played 8th grade football. I shouldn't even say 8th grade. Wait, what grade was I in? I was in 5th grade when I learned this rule because I started playing football in the 8th grade. When the ball is kicked off, it is a live ball. And I understand in college that if the ball bounces into the end zone, it's dead. But this is quite literally football 101. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, it made me so mad. Now, another thing I want to talk about with that is, though, they didn't look at that play whatsoever. They just assumed that Seattle recovered the ball in the end zone. If anything, it should have been a safety, right? Because it didn't look like the guy had possession of the ball before he went out of bounds. I really had to take a better look at it because that play disgusts me. I don't even want to look at that play anymore. It disgusts me because that's something that you should know from Pee Wee football. How do you play in the NFL and you don't know the simplest of rules? I get that you may not know every rule. I get that you may not know every nuance of the game. I'm not saying that. But Caleb Johnson should know the rule. The coaching staff should have him ready for the rule. Any rational person would see, oh, he only had a few kick returns in college. Maybe let's get him up to speed on what kick returning's like in the NFL. But no, the Steelers just decide, well, we drafted him in the 3rd round. He's a running back, so he knows how to have the ball in his hands. So let's just put him back there. He'll figure it out. Ugh! You guys are idiots! Sorry if I clipped the microphone there. Just fucking stupid. The Steelers suck, dude. How do you lose that? I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not even going to do it. The final thing I want to talk about today, because now I'm getting worked up. The final thing I want to talk about today is this whole Tush Push controversy. So yesterday we saw the Kansas City Chiefs. They are now 0-2. They lost again in a rematch of the Super Bowl to the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people are mad at the Tush Push because now I wasn't one of these people that I don't. Here's what I'll say. I don't mind the Tush Push. However, every time the Eagles line up to do it, it is 1,000% illegal formation. The center cannot have the ball by his chest and be hanging over the ball. That's offsides, or at least a neutral zone infraction. You can't do that. It's illegal formation. And then we were seeing slow-mo images, which, first of all, I think that there's a conspiracy going on by the NFL because there have been slow-mo down-the-line cameras of the Tush Push. And you can see that both guards are going before the snap. Obvious false start. That has been circulating on social media. Every other video that I saw on X about the NFL is still up. But that video of the Tush Push going down the line has been taken down due to copyright. Somebody does not want that being seen. These false starts on the offensive line. Because the Eagles are going early. The center is lined up over the ball. It's illegal formation. It's a false start. I don't mind the play. It's one of those things that I think you need to just stop the play. But when the Eagles are getting head starts, when the Eagles are lining up incorrectly, something needs to be done. The refs need to crack down on this. So the Eagles can run the Tush Push all they want, in my opinion. Run it every play. But the NFL really needs to have the refs crack down on the center lining up wrong, the guards going early, because they crack the code on a play to get short yardage. I'm not going to blame them for that whatsoever. I don't mind that whatsoever. But you got to do it within the rules. And they're not. So that's all I want to talk about with the Tush Push. The Eagles are still the better team, in my opinion, than the Kansas City Chiefs. But that Tush Push situation needs to be figured out. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Hail Mary. A lot of football, and I love it. We have 2 Monday night games today, and I absolutely love it. Love it, baby. Football. Thank you guys so much. Please check out hailmary.media. Check out my website. Read my blogs. Follow us on all of our social platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts. We're everywhere. You already know that. Check out Underdog. Check out Sleeper. Sign up. Use the code HMM. Get yourself a free 0.5 gimme pick. Get yourself some deposit matches. Guys, thank you so much. I will see you all again on Friday. Oh, what a week of football we had. And it just angered me. And I love it. I love when football makes me mad. Have a beautiful week, everybody. I will see you all on Friday. Peace out.